everybody. Happy week 5 discussion video. Alright, so what resonated with me about the lecture video? I'd have to say, her mention of facial features and, your facial expressions. I've been told many times, no matter what I'm thinking, you can see it clearly on my face. So I think that I need to pay attention to being aware of what my face is saying, so that I'm not, coming off with some sort of unintended messages, as well as my body language. I also talk with my hands a lot, and not everyone understands kind of what that could mean, or sometimes I see people getting distracted looking at my hands instead of kind of listening or paying attention to what I might be saying. So I just really appreciated the mention of, body language, facial features, and kind of what you're conveying. And then share about a concept or skill from chapter 7 that was interesting to me and why. So I found the concept of physical attending really interesting. The therapist that I have right now is blind. She's not 100% blind. She can kind of see figures, but can't see any definition or anything really. So the first time that I saw her, she was in a different office, and the way her office was set up, her computer monitors were stacked at an angle, basically totally blocking between her and I. And I was immediately kind of felt almost defensive, and she was looking at her computer screens a lot, and she uses a machine that enlarges everything, like a huge magnifier basically. And at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see her, because it was hard to figure out how I would connect with her if she wasn't, making eye contact at me or anything with me. But then the second session, I decided to give it another shot, and they had changed her to a different office. And in that office, she was actually set up a lot differently, so she was able to get, it's hard for her to make eye contact, but she does, look at you. She kind of pays attention to body language. She actually picks up on my body language better than most people, I think, because she's really aware of it. She's constantly telling me, getting me to think about the messages I'm sending or how closed off I feel in session. So it's been really great. Even though she is mostly blind, it's really interesting that she picks up on these subtleties, and it's taught me a lot about my body language, and it's definitely something I want to work more on. And yeah, so if you're not making eye contact, it may put some people off. Some people that are on the autism spectrum get really kind of freaked out by eye contact, and then some people in some cultures, eye contact could be considered invasive. So I found that whole conversation really interesting, or not conversation, but details in the chapter. And then what am I willing to work on this week in practicum? Definitely listening and waiting for natural pauses to ask questions or add any info, and paying attention to my body language. And then based on information, what maladaptive, counterproductive communications do you notice that I do? My ADHD means my brain is going a million miles a minute, and I often interject or interrupt people while they're talking. I'm doing it because it makes me think of something I want to add, or it kind of, I'm thinking ahead, and it's oh, I want to say something about that before I am down the road and forget what I wanted to say. So some members of my family get super offended and take this almost like a personal insult when I interrupt them. So it's good to be aware of, and I'm more aware of it because of that. But yeah, it's definitely kind of a struggle. And then I also know that like my body language can maybe send mixed signals because of my spine and my ADHD. I change positions a lot, and I don't want to give like signals that I'm not paying attention or something. So, and also just like that I can get distracted and go down kind of a rabbit hole when something makes me think of something else that I wanted to add info on. So, these are all common like neurodivergent thought processing and empathy expression, but not everyone understands that. So, and then I also tend to use humor or sarcasm to kind of like build connection, and I know that sarcasm is a big no one. So, just things to be aware of. All right, I hope you guys are all doing well. Thanks.